It may be early September, but we have a loaded edition of NBA Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nick Roloff. We got to talk about Ben Simmons potentially retiring, a resolution finally on the forefront for Jonathan Kuminga, as well as Josh Giddey cashing in, signing his deal with the Chicago Bulls. We'll start with Ben Simmons and Marc Stein, who reported earlier this week that the Knicks offered Ben Simmons a one-year contract that he passed on. Now, New York is just limited to a vet min contract as training camp is close, and Simmons is trying to figure out what he wants to do, but rejecting a contract from the Knicks certainly seems like a bold decision, considering I feel as if it is his only option at this point. And this entire offseason, it feels like Ben Simmons has been all over the place, whether he wants to sign with a team like the Knicks, whether he wants to return to the Clippers, whether he even wants to play basketball. It's been obviously a underlying story, not like something at the lead of NBA news and NBA talking points, but it certainly has been like almost like the Joker and the Batman just in the background running around causing havoc. It's just weird like to see this entire summer and process play out for Ben Simmons. And we'll have more on Simmons here in a second, but make sure you follow us over on Instagram. Our handle is just simply Chat Sports. We have over 22,000 followers, but let's get to 22,100. Daily short form content, whether it's on the NBA, the NFL. If you want more outside of our videos every day, go follow us. Chat Sports is the handle. Stefan Bondy, this is the one that really is interesting when it comes to Ben Simmons. He reported almost a day after the initial report that we just talked about from Stein that his agent, Bernie Lee, the same agent who represents Jimmy Butler, by the way, recently dropped Ben Simmons as a client. A source said the decision occurred after the guard sent signals he wasn't interested in whatever came from his agent's conversations with the Knicks. So my question is Ben Simmons going to retire? Because my thing when it comes to Simmons is why on earth would he just flat out decline an offer from the Knicks? You can tell New York, hey, we appreciate the offer and then we will be interested, but we're just going to see what other teams are interested as well. That's keeping all of your options open. But if Ben Simmons is flat out saying, yeah, I'm not going to go play for the Knicks, and no other team is offering him a deal, then what is his plan? And it's kind of smart for Bernie Lee to drop him because it feels like Ben Simmons doesn't want to play basketball. Now, last season, he played for both the Nets and Clippers, and he was certainly more productive in the second half of the year after he was bought out from Brooklyn when he was playing for Los Angeles. But he certainly is one of the most disappointing players in recent NBA memory. Clearly was a highly touted prospect, the number one pick in the 2016 NBA draft, but those back injuries really just did him in, and his lack of aggressiveness on the offensive end of the floor, as well as his inability to space the floor and improve as a three-point shooter. But in this stage of his career, I just don't know who else would want to sign Ben Simmons, considering his injury history, the idea that he might not even want to play basketball. So, like, if he's turning down Knicks offers, it's going to be hard for me to project him to be playing for an NBA team this upcoming season. But what say you? Will Ben Simmons retire from the NBA? Pin comment on today's show. Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let's segue from Ben Simmons to Jonathan Kuminga, another free agent still out there, because it seems like we may have a resolution on the horizon. Monte Poole, an NBC Sports reporter, had the report that Kuminga signing the qualifying offer with Golden State remains the most anticipated outcome. Now, the deadline to do so is October 1st, and he mentions that Al Horford and some other veterans are waiting for the Golden State Warriors to finally have the clear picture to where they know the salary and more clarity on the situation. But before we get into that kind of part of it, let's talk about Jonathan Kuminga here, because he's someone who wanted at least $25 million this season. He did not want to return to the Golden State Warriors because he believes he is not being used the correct way and wants to be the focal point of an offense. Fair. I mean, I would want to do that too if I was in his shoes. But does he deserve that? Yeah, I don't know, but the point is this. Him signing the qualifying offer, which is about a one-year, $8 million deal for this season, means that he will play on a one-year deal this season and then be an unrestricted free agent next year. So he could play on a one-year deal with Golden State. If he bounces back and has a big season for the Warriors in probably a roll off the bench, well, then he could potentially cash in as an unrestricted free agent for the mid-level next year at $15 million per season, maybe more in the $20 million range if he really performs well. So it feels like that is the path here for Jonathan Kuminga, because obviously no one was going to sign him to a big deal and then have the Warriors match that in restricted free agency. Kuminga did not have the best season of his career in 24-25. After a big step up in 23-24, the Warriors expected him to take another step forward this past season. He did not, which is partially the reason why Golden State went out and had to trade for a player like Jimmy Butler. More coming up on Kuminga and the Warriors here in a second, but get started with Prize Picks today, the daily fantasy sports app and platform I'm playing every day. And we make decisions every single day. If you are right, you can get paid. Don't miss on the excitement this season in basketball and football, where it's good to be right. It's so simple to play. You just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in. PrizePicks invented the flex play, which means you could cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Who's going off? Who's not? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your takes into cash all season long on PrizePicks. And with us still waiting for basketball, I'm focusing in on football, where I got more than Terry McLaurin, half a touchdown. I think he gets in the end zone on Thursday Night Football against the Packers. Pair that up with the max discount for Travis Kelce, more than half a receiving yard for the longtime tight end and fiance to Taylor Swift. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Now, when Jonathan Kuminga eventually signs, whether it is on a contract that the Warriors offer him, which doesn't seem very likely at this point, or that qualifying offer of 1 year, $8 million that we have just talked about, the floodgates will absolutely be open for the Warriors. They only have like 8 or 9 people on their roster right now, and with the training camp beginning in about 3 weeks, yeah, they have to get busy in terms of filling out that roster. Well, there are 2 guaranteed players that have basically agreed to a contract with Golden State. That being Al Horford, the veteran big man, and DeAnthony Melton, a player that was on the roster last year but tore his MCL or ACL before the year and missed the entire season. Those 2 players are guaranteed to sign with Golden State. It's all about years and guaranteed salary, base salary over those years. Those are guaranteed. But there's also rumors out there about a couple other players that may have handshake deals with the Warriors that are just waiting to see how things play out. Those 2 players being Malcolm Brogdon, the longtime veteran guard, and Steph Curry's brother, Seth Curry. There are also rumors about a player like Gary Payton potentially be waiting in the wings to sign, the long-term Warrior who has helped them win multiple titles. So I will say this. Warriors have like 8 or 9 people on their roster right now. Once Kuminga signs, there will be like 3 or 4 players that sign with Golden State almost instantly. Like, I would imagine you will see 5 or 4 players sign in a 48-hour span with the Warriors once Kuminga signs. It'll be certainly intriguing to monitor. Well, make sure you do subscribe to Chat Sports here, because we have daily content on the NFL, NBA, and college football, including live shows for every Sunday. If you're an NFL fan, we do some red zone work as well. Subscribe today and join the fam. All right, we'll round out the show with talking about Josh Giddey, because on today's Wednesday, Tuesday, September 9th, restricted free agent Josh Giddey reached an agreement with the Chicago Bulls on a 4-year, $100 million deal. He was a restricted free agent, and my thoughts on the deal, I think it's a fair deal. Giddey, I know some people may be down on him because of how poor he was playing for the Thunder and the fact that he was basically pushed out of the rotation his final year when they were the 1 seed in the playoffs. They trade him for Alex Caruso straight up and then win the NBA Finals. But he was really good for Chicago last year. I mean, after the All-Star break, which I know it's only a 19-game sample size, But Josh Giddey averaged damn near a triple-double in those 19 games. While shooting, by the way, 50% from the field, 45.7% from three, and 80% from the free throw line. He was absolutely awesome for them. Now, you would have liked to see him, Kobe White, and some of those other younger guys put up a better performance in the play-in game against the Miami Heat, where they got absolutely drubbed at home. Like, I think it's a fair deal for Josh Giddey, but I want to make this little point here before we end the show. Like, the Bulls are stuck in purgatory, and I feel bad for their fans. Like, they're continuously stuck in picking like 7 to like 13. They're never going to make the playoffs with their current roster, and they're never going to see real growth unless one of their young guys like Amadas Buzelis really takes a step forward, or they somehow get lucky, win the lottery, and have a top 2, top 3 pick. Like, they're just stuck paying relatively good players, but not great players, good chunks of money, which is just going to keep them in this like 11 seed to like 8 seed range in the NBA. It's a tough place to be. And the true final word on today's show, it's certainly interesting that Josh Giddey gets a big deal, but Jonathan Kuminga and Cam Thomas go with the qualifying offer. I know it's not official with Kuminga, but it's heading that way. And then you factor in the other restricted free agents. There were 4 big restricted free agents: Josh Giddey, Kuminga, Cam Thomas, and Quinn Grimes. Well, Quinn Grimes is still a free agent. Unclear to see where that resolution happens. But Giddey gets a big deal. Kuminga and Thomas go qualifying offer. And I'd have to imagine Quentin Grimes will ultimately have to go with the qualifying offer as well, with that deadline vastly approaching. All right, I'll do it for today's show. As I said off the top, go follow us over on IG. @ChatSports is the handle for more short-form content in between the videos we put out every single day.